All right. Hello. Nancy here and Charlese. We are doing another episode together for the Entrepreneur Rescue Mission. So, Charlese is our amazing copywriter who just has such amazing insights when it comes to entrepreneurship. Wanted to have her on here today to share a little bit of her insights. Well, not just a little bit, but a lot of it insights on what it's like, really real life behind the scenes being an entrepreneur and really remembering, right, the journey and how far we've come. Because I feel like so many people, I think there's that quote where it's like you compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter, 20. And we often look over and go, what am I doing wrong? But in reality, right, we've been through a lot as well. So that's the topic of today's episode is, things get tough at times, right? And what are some things that we can do when things get tough? And I definitely have some tips for you there. But Charlese, if you just want to open it up, just share, maybe your story as you were starting out as an entrepreneur, and then really any insight on this topic that you want to add.
Okay, that's a lot. So I'm going to try to keep it as a copywriter who uses a lot of words as concise as possible. But I'm not new to entrepreneurship, not even in just the last few years. I've had a copywriting business for the last about 5 years, but for 20 years, I was a hairstylist and salon owner. And so one of the things that took me in my early 20s time to learn was the ups and downs are totally normal and you cannot fully control them. So I went through as again, 22-year-old woman who was starting out in the world, all the emotional feels, the roller coaster of it all. When clients would cancel, I'd be like, no, I can't go to dinner this weekend with my friends. They hate me. And then when I get so many clients, I'm like, I'm so booked. I don't know how I'm going to survive. And then you'd go into feast or famine. And it took me a couple of years before I was like, okay, this is the pattern. Everybody comes in at this time. Nobody goes in at that time. And I started to regulate my income, save it in certain times and places. I also learned how to, move clients over and keep them coming in during the dry spells. But, that's not something you learn day one going in, no matter how much someone tries to teach you. The thing about entrepreneurship is it's about the experience. And while all of our experiences actually are completely different and we all bring something different to the table, which is what makes us so awesome, and we each have a cool business that no one else has, some of the experiences follow the same patterns. And so we have to remember when we're listening to our people that we trust, like you guys have been in the industries for years doing your entrepreneurship. When I ask you questions, you and Scott always have such cool insights about, well, when I had this business, this is what happened. And it always brings it back to, okay, that's normal. And can we normalize the fact that sometimes you will cry, sometimes you will get mad, sometimes you will have a client that pisses you off so much and you love your job and you love what you're doing and you don't even hate them, but you're just like, my God, are they serious? Like it's okay to have these emotions. That's part of the human experience. Sitting behind a 9 to 5 desk, you'd have that same experience, but you'd just like throw it all at your boss or the company or whatever. But you can't throw that at yourself all the time. So I think we should normalize this conversation. I love that we're doing this today.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to do more transparent talks, and I think we've been
Mhm.
chatting about this. I think another one that we've been working on is even up leveling content, creating even better content. So
Mhm.
there's lots of topics I think that we can kind of peel back the layer on and just be fully transparent, right? What's going on
Mhm.
with people. And this one was really important to me. And this one's actually like really like near and dear to my heart because I remember, right, as I started my business and as I went down this journey, certain things happened that I did not plan for. And a lot of my
Mm.
journey, really, the obstacles that appeared were all financial, right? I had student loans out the wazoo, right? So that was one of those things that always made me feel shackled, right? It made me feel like, oh, I
Mhm.
can't leave this corporate job that I have because if I leave it, I won't be able to afford, my mortgage and my student loans and everything. But
Mhm.
it got bad enough mentally, emotionally, physically that I did not
Mm.
want to do it anymore, right? I had to really evaluate my life and quite honestly, I didn't care. I didn't give a shit, that I had a pension, that I had a this and I had
Yeah.
a matching 401. I did not care. I got to the point where I'm going to drive my damn car off this road.
Yes.
I have to go back
Yeah.
one more day. And so for me, right, my why of I wanted to create a business that made it
Mhm.
so that I could spend more time with family, that I wasn't forgotten during the holidays, that I wasn't working my butt off, right, for someone else. I wanted to be able to work for myself. And I just kind of had that
Mhm.
mentality. And I was like, you know what, I'll figure it out. But the hardest thing
Mhm.
for me, I mean, and again, I repeat this, it all came down to financials. My
Mhm.
student loans being the bane of my existence. One thing that happened, I still look back. I mean, there could have been a lawsuit in this, but the company that held my student loan, it was a private student loan. Um, they ended up having a mistake with their auto debit, and so I wasn't having my student loans automatically. It was like it was I mean, it was something ridiculous, and I know a lot of people are like, "Nancy, you should have better control over your finances," but I just wasn't keeping track of it, right? When you set up something on
Mhm.
auto pay, you think, "Oh, well, it's just gonna come out. It's not a big deal." Well, it went
Mhm.
by more than just a few months that they didn't auto debit, and they didn't message me, they didn't email me, they didn't call me, nothing. And what
Wow.
happened, it went to, uh it hurt my credit. It actually, like,
Yeah.
they said, so I'm like, "What the hell?" And this, guys, I found this out. I had already quit my job, and I was getting ready to apply for a business loan. And I kid you not,
Mhm.
I had in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna be good. We're all good." And I found this out, and again, it sounds so ridiculous, but it was, like, pulled off the table, and it was like, "And we've got it's your student loans, mwahahaha," that is this
Oh.
arch nemesis, right? This thing, that is obviously, hanging over your head. And so for me, right, it was like, "Okay, what the hell am I doing?" Like, what is this universal thing, throwing, in my way, all these like pain points. And honestly, it's like earning your badge of honor. Like, it's like you got to take these bumps and bruises, because if you want to
Mhm.
be an entrepreneur, the world's going to throw some
Mhm.
stuff your way, right? It will,
Mhm.
because you're going off a different path. So that
Mhm.
wasn't the only thing that happened to me, right? I had the student loan thing. I had actually borrowed money. So I looked, I'm like, "Oh God, what do I do? I've got to pay my mortgage. I got to do all these other things." So I ended up borrowing money against my 401k. Now, when I took the money out, I didn't account for taxes and certain things like that. And so that became something, right? The taxes, the student loans that I now had to catch up. So all these different bills, right? Magically peppering. And I'm like, oh my God. I worked myself, and this is aside from what needs to be done daily in business. I worked myself
Mhm.
into a sickness, right? It was almost like flu-like symptoms on repeat,
Mhm.
because I was burning myself out. I was overly stressed. I didn't know what to do. And so what happened was, and again, looking back, I'm like, thank God I kept going, right? Thank God I kept pushing through
Mhm.
all of the awful stuff, because that is what you got to work through in order to get on the other side
Mhm.
and to actually get, what it is you set out to do. So, before I
Mhm.
even touch on the next step, right? I think tip number one in this whole journey, if you guys are experiencing it, remember your why. When I was
Mm.
a puddle on the stinking floor crying, this
Mm.
is a real story. What did I do? I had ended a 5+ year long relationship, right? I had ended that. I had quit my job. And here I am having to pay for a mortgage and my bills. Nothing changed right on that end. And I am a mess on the floor going, what did I do? No one's going to want to be with me. No one's going to even like, how is this business going to work? I mean, I felt lower than low. And it was honestly a friendly reminder. And so at the time, one of the things that I did to get scrappy, which is tip number two, sometimes you got to get
Mhm.
scrappy, is
Yep.
I started looking for other ways to make money supplemental, right?
Mhm.
So it would support while I was building my business, because I do. And a lot of people don't realize this. I don't recommend people quit their jobs to start businesses. In fact, often I'm like, no, you got to build the business on the side, get it going, fund it with your business, right? And then once you're
Right.
at a point where you're actually making money, then you can set sail. So don't do it the Nancy way if you can you can avoid it, okay? Don't
Learn
feel
from my
obligated.
mistakes. Got
Learn
it.
from my mistakes, exactly, and have a little money saved up, right? So that you're not in that place. Well, anyway, ways that I got scrappy. What does that even look like, right? So I had actually, step one, I tried to ride for Uber, right? So I became an Uber driver,
Mhm.
which is super easy,
Right.
guys. I did it once. Okay. In fact, it freaked me out so bad because again, right, I'm a woman and I'm like, here by myself for safety and security. It just did not
Mhm.
feel 100%. And honestly, I did one drive. I picked up a whole group of kids. Like honestly, whenever I say kids, they were probably like not even high school, and they wanted to be dropped off
What?
in the worst part of this neighborhood, right near
Your
where I
conscience
live.
won't allow that.
And I'm like,
No.
"No, no, 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 no." So I felt so bad about I'm like, "Okay, I'm done. Like, this is it." And I even was like,
Yeah.
"Guys, I'm gonna wait here, like, to make sure." So anyways, just a weird situation, and I didn't do it again,
Mhm.
right? So that was step number 1. Maybe not the best thing, right, for everyone, but I know there's some solutions there. One thing that I wish I would have known about and done is, those apps like Rover or, I think, it's Rover, and there's a couple other ones like Wag or something. Dog
For dog
walking
walking?
and dog sitting, right? There's people who actually that's all they do, and they make hundreds of
Mhm.
dollars, daily and even, thousands of
Mhm.
dollars weekly by helping to babysit or dog walk other people's dogs. That sounds like a dream to
Mhm.
me, okay? So anyway, so again, some scrappy ways that you can, obviously
Mhm.
get out there. Now, the third thing that I did, in addition to some of these other things, is I actually lived close to Princeton University. So I was like in the next town over. And so it was recommended to me by someone to rent out off-campus housing. So I went to Princeton, posted my house on off-campus housing, and I posted rooms. So I had 3 extra rooms in my house, and I'm like, "You know what? I don't care. I'm okay living with other people. Like, I just need money."
Mhm.
So it worked, and I had some pretty amazing people move in. And whenever I say it's kind of like, what's that shit, The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
So all of the people from Princeton, of course, they're like PhDs and they're like, I mean, think of one of my friends, oh, man, I formed so many great relationships from that. One of my friends, Annie, she was like head of the HR department, just had an amazing story. I love her. And she was obsessed with chicken nuggets. So every time I see chicken nuggets, I think about her. We had Sarah, who actually is in this huge oceanography. She has her PhD. She's just amazing. But anyway, the
Mhm.
whole thing was awesome, right? Luckily, I had some pretty
Mhm.
damn cool, roommates, but they made it so that I could pay for my
Mhm.
mortgage each month, which is really in turn
Right.
really awesome. So don't feel bad, right? When you're in those stages and you're going through those moments where you're like, man, I have got to push the limits here. I got to do some stuff that I probably normally wouldn't do. I mean, obviously, be be
Mhm.
good. Don't do bad things.
Be
Don't be
safe.
selling
Yeah.
stuff or, I don't know. Anyway,
Mhm.
the whole
Stay
moral of the
legal and
story,
safe. Yeah.
yes, stay legal and safe, right? But there are different odd jobs. There are things that you can do, guys, and it's not a bad thing whenever you have to go back and maybe get a part-time job, something like that, so that it can
Mhm.
fund the growth and the building of your business. This happens all the time. And in fact, whenever
Mhm.
I worked for Apple, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs did that. In fact, a lot of the people who
Mhm.
work there were entrepreneurs or growing their own business on the outside of it. And this was kind of a part-time thing that they did. So,
Mhm.
just to kind of reel it in, again, I just wanted to do an episode just to let you guys know, if you are in
Mhm.
that mode, right? Where finances or, things in your
Mhm.
business are tough and you are just in a bad place, it's not the end of the line, right? Let
Mm-mm.
me tell you, there is more than enough money to be made out there. And even if you're going through a slow
Mhm.
season or whatever, there is plenty of money to go around. There are tons of problems that need to be solved. And
Mhm.
even in this ever evolving market, it's still,
Mhm.
right, an amazing thing to do to become an entrepreneur, but it's real, right? But let those
Mhm.
things drive you. Remember your why,
Yes.
okay? And
Mhm.
keep on course because you got this. So that
I
is it
agree.
for this week's
Don't
episode.
give up on yourself.
Yeah. Do not, give up and keep
Yeah.
going. You've got this. So
Yeah.
yeah. So stay tuned for next week's episode. Hope you guys
Mhm.
enjoyed this raw and real episode and expect more like this, right? We want to give you some behind the scenes of some real reels, not for fake fakes. And we'll give you that next week. Bye bye.